today what we'll be discussing is we'll be actually covering joins. Basically, we'll start off with simple joins, inner join, outer joins, and cross joins. We'll go through some also check out self joins, mart joins. Mart joins I have already covered in our first class, but still, if you have any issues, I can always help you out in that. And then we'll actually go into if, switch, and choose. If and if, switch, and choose is basically a form of if statements that actually SQL Server has to offer in as far as queries are concerned. We'll move up to SQL nested queries, subqueries, and all. And then we'll actually this particular thing is also covered. I mean, using select statement to update, insert, and delete. But again, as I said, like if you have any issues, if you have any problems with the understanding that in our first class, then I can always cover it once again here. So starting off with join. Any idea what is join is? Simple. Any form of idea what can be a join? So let me give you a preview of this. Then I'll just come back to my question. Basically, what we are till now, what we were doing is we are actually working on a simple table, single table. So whatever queries that we have been firing, whatever data we have been accessing, was all based on single tables. So SQL joins actually gives us the power to integrate multiple tables. We already learned about the primary key, foreign keys, relationships, and all in the last class. So basically, we knew how to relate two tables together using foreign key and primary key. So SQL joins is the next step. It actually helps us, once we have actually related our tables, SQL joins actually helps us to query those tables, to relate those two tables to get to query our data, query our required data. So basically, there are quite a few number of joins. The first one is the inner join. What does inner join do? If you have two tables together, let me go back to our to the SQL Server Management Studio screen. So let us assume that we have two tables. One is table employee. It has some data that records like name, ID, age, address, salary, and department ID. And there is also a table called table employee order, table order, where we have actually related some fictitious orders which this particular employee or customer has ordered already. So if I want to see which customer has ordered what, like if I actually want to check, I mean, what are the order details of a particular customer and also their salary. So basically, SQL inner join is the best option to do that. And this is the syntax for SQL inner join. We have to use this use the inner join statement in between the two tables, and then we have to relate it between relate the two fields. Like we have already understood what is primary key and what is foreign key. So here in this table, customer, what is the primary key out here? Can you tell out? So let us actually go back to our previous classes. Hi.
I'm here. I'm here, yes.
Yeah, going through this table, we already learned primary key and foreign key yesterday. So can you tell us what are which one of this field is primary key and which one of the field is foreign key? I just give you both the glimpse of both the tables here.
Yeah, and the first table employee, the ID is the primary key.
Right.
Then the department ID is the foreign key.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So this is coming back to inner join. Inner join, what inner join does is it actually finds out the records which are common to both the tables. So like if I actually fire an inner join out here, so which one of this? I mean, which one of the three of these all the records should it show? It will show actually 1, 4, and 2. Because these are the three customer IDs that are common in this table.
What? I didn't get the question.
Yes. So if I fire inner join, so we are learning inner join out here. So inner join, what does inner join do? Inner join actually returns those records which are common to both the tables. So currently we are dealing with these two tables. So if I fire an inner join out here on these two tables, what are the records that it should return based on the customer ID?
Um, I don't know because they're supposed to bring something that they both have in common.
Right. So what are the three? Which are the records that are common for both? Customer, where you check out customer ID.
I
1,
can't
2, and
see
4.
customer ID in the other table, in the employee table. I can't see customer ID there.
This
I
is the
just
ID of the
ID.
customer. ID is the customer ID.
Oh, okay. I thought you should give them all the same name, so at least we
Yeah,
know.
that is a mistake from my side. I'll do that. I'll do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so it will be records 1, 2, and 4, right?
Right, right. So these are the three records that will be shown once I fire this customer this particular inner join. So coming back to this particular query, so can you see anything new in this? I already covered it yesterday. I've shown you this yesterday. So what exactly is this? I've fired select star from table employee TBL EMP inner join table order TBL odd on this thing. So what exactly is this? This TBL EMP and TBL odd. What exactly does it do? Any idea? Anybody who have worked with SQL Server before, what queries before? Sheta?
Yeah, it's an alias.
Yes. So what does alias do?
It
If you
just
can explain the others about this.
The alias is just a temporary name given to it within the query, basically, so that it can be used as a short form going ahead in the query, basically.
Okay, for the others, she said is like, say for example, we have a table which has a large name, which is a big name. So basically, when we are writing a complex query, these are very simple queries that I've been showing you. But when you actually go progress in the classes, you'll find that there are much more larger queries that we'll need to write. So there, when accessing a table name like which the name which is large, which is big enough, is a problem to form. So to make this thing is very simple. We actually give the table name a simple name, but meaningful name, of course. And we actually utilize this name, that particular name while writing the query. So that is what the alias does. So coming back to next kind of next
I have a
example.
question actually.
Let's see.
Can we go to the SQL file?
Yeah.
I'm really surprised, that you didn't put over here DBO, the schema, and still it is not giving you an
DBO
error.
doesn't. If you actually firing this, yes, I was expecting this question somehow. DBO basically you don't need that. If you are firing that particular query from the database itself, like I'm
Okay.
doing this, I've done this in the DBA joins table, and I've selected DBA joins out here. DB joins out here. So if I do that, if I am actually finding the query from the same database where actually the tables are located, then you might not be needing DBO actually. We'll come to that since we have raised this. You have raised this issue. I'll show you how to fire a query from to a different database from another database. So I'll show you the syntax of that. So in that case, we'll be needing DBO. But basically in case of firing a query from the same database, we don't need a DBO here. You can the table name. If you actually use a proper table name, it will actually work. Any questions, Khai? Coming back to your questions that you have asked me, I mean, I forgot that just to start off with. You asked me yesterday what is correlative, what is clustered and non-clustered, right? Indexes.
Yeah.
So clustered, yeah, this is the form of index basically. Clustered index, what a clustered index do is when you actually index a particular table on when you say that particular table is indexed based on clustered, it actually physically arranges that those records. Like if you have 5 rows and based on employee ID. So every time you enter a new table, employee ID, the table actually that index actually physically arranges the table based on the employee ID. If you are in a descending order, like the first employee ID will be 1 and second then 2, and if you change that employee ID again in future, then that particular table will be arranged accordingly, physically arranging the table. And non-clustered indexes is that the table physical arrangement of the table remains the same, but it actually maintains the SQL Server maintains a separate table where it actually puts the details of the records. I mean, which records are located in which row of the original table. So it actually, when you are actually accessing the data, it actually references to that table and queries the data.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll be coming back to indexes later on. We have an elaborate class on index in later part of the session.
Yes.
Coming back to joins again.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for that, Sanchan. I really appreciate you getting back to me on that. This one, it really helps.
Yeah. So outer join. What does outer join does? Outer join basically what it does is it actually, but there are two kinds of outer join. One is left outer join and one is right outer join, and one is full outer join. So let us discuss one at a time. The left outer join, what it does is if you have two tables, again coming back to our screen. So you have employee table. Let us see the employee table out here. It has 4 records, and table orders. It has 3 records. So if I fired left outer join, the syntax is left join out here between the two tables. What it will do is it will actually show you the details of all the records of table employee, and it will actually show the details of table order which matches the table employee, the records from table employee. So if I fire this, so this is what it actually showing. We have 4 records in table employee. Can you tell me why this particular record is showing null out here? Hi.
Yeah, because there's no you have not entered no data on the amount.
Why does that particular record showing null? We have internal data out here. If you see this has I mean we have actually data. Why this particular record showing null out here?
I believe because you are missing data on that.
Right. So what did I say that I mean just now about left outer join? What does it do? What it actually does is when I'm actually doing a left outer join, firing a left outer join between table employee and table order, so it will actually pick up all the employee. Basically, employee has 4 records, and table order has 3 records. It doesn't have any records for Michael, so that's why for Michael table order is showing as null. Similarly, if I any questions on this, any problems understanding left outer join? Hi, Pascal, Sheta.
No, I'm good on this.
Yeah, I'm also good. I'm just wondering, like, which might be the scenarios in which we might need a left outer join, because I've never used it actually. I always use inner join. So left join, I'm like, like which might be the scenarios? Like, can you give an example where we might need?
Yes. I mean, this can be a scenario out here. So in case of a proper thing, like we had already discussed a scenario yesterday, where we can have an employee organization where there are few employees which have joined as a trainee. So there we might not be allocating any departments to them. So if tomorrow I want to have a query, like in case of a department, in case of an organization, when you are designing an organization employee details table, employee details database, so definitely department will be a separate table out there. I've already given you an assignment, so I want you to design the database like that. But I mean, in case of a normal practical scenario, we actually put the departments in a separate table. So when you are actually designing a new employee table, and there might be a scenario where some employees have joined as a trainee and no departments has been allocated to them. So if tomorrow I want to see a report where I want to see all the employees along with their department, I mean, no matter whether that particular employee has been allocated a department or not. So if I fire an inner join, what will it do? It will actually show the employees which have records of the employees which are for which departments are already been allocated, because inner join only picks up records which are matching for both tables. But here in this case, I want all the employee details, even if there is no departments allocated for that employee. So for that, I have to fire a join, left outer join. So I'll be showing all the employee details, and along with that, the departments which are allocated against an employee. So it might happen that some employees might not be allocated in the department. Like in this case, this Michael doesn't have any record in the order table.
No.
So did you understand the explanation, Shweta?
No.
Clear?
No.
Yeah, this is clear now.
No. No.
Pascal, hi. Okay. So coming back to right outer join. Right outer join is the second part of second section of outer joins. Right outer joins is just opposite to left outer join. So left, what we are doing is it's actually picking up all the records from the left part of the tables, which is in the left side of the query. So right outer joins does the opposite, picks up all the records from the right part of the table, which is in the right side of the query. So here we will only be finding any difference because we already have 3 records which are there in the employee table, but the syntax is actually right join. This is the syntax. You have to have the tables. You have to use right join, and then the table name and this filter condition. So there is another join, outer join, which is called full outer join. Full outer join is basically picks up the records from both the tables. So it actually matches joins, returns all the records, and like you can see here, it actually returns all the records from both the tables. So the syntax is same. You have to pull. You need to put full instead of right or left. You have to put full join, and this is what it does. It actually picks up all the records. And again, here you can see a null because this particular record doesn't have any record details in the order table. So the third record is null. So coming back to another 2 forms of join. Cross join is basically, we call it an error because when you are actually making a mistake somewhere, so then whatever data it actually this is basic kind of a join which is considered to be an error. Cross join actually doesn't have any filters indexes. Filters. So just coming before I start cross join, Kai, any problem with this outer join?
No, not at all.
So I understand we're busy at that moment. So if you have missed something, I can come back to that again.
Yeah, I'm sorry for that.
Yeah, it's all right. So any issues with the understanding how outer join functions?
I'm just, the last one you just said, full outer join. I'm trying to, like Shweta wanted to know the scenario. Where are you gonna need that?
I think you missed that, right? You missed that. I already explained the scenario. Let me come back to it once again.
Thank you.
If you have it, well, let us say that if you have a scenario where you have a department, you have a database where you have a department table, and the employee table. So employee table does have all the details of employees. So it might happen in non-standard scenario that there are certain new joinees, new employees who have joined very recently, and no departments have been allocated to them. So you have another table where you actually store the details of all the departments that are available in your organization. So suppose tomorrow I want to have a report where I want to see who are the employees currently working in the organizations. So if I actually fire an inner join, so what will it will actually do? Between departments and employee, if I fire an inner join, it will show only those records for which the departments has already been allocated. So it will not show, because what we have found, that department inner join actually shows those records which are common to both the tables. So basically my requirement is not fulfilled for that. What I wanted is that I wanted to show see all the records of that, all the employees that are there in the organization, no matter whether departments has been allocated to them or not. So for that, what I have to do is I have to fire a left outer join. It will show all the details of all the employees, Along with that, we will show the details of the departments for which departments against each employees, where the employees has already been allocated departments. So otherwise, it will show null. So like it is happening out here, when I'm actually firing this left outer join, since Michael doesn't have any records in the order table, so that is showing as null. So now it's clear?
Yes, yes, thank you.
It's better.
Okay, coming back to cross joins. Is nothing. If you it's actually like when if you don't have a filter condition given in a particular record, particular query, so then this kind of joins actually occur. The query actually returns whatever records are there. So basically, what it does is it's a form of Cartesian join basically. So what is done is what it does. So we have two records, two tables. It's employee and table order. So if I fire this cross join out here, so what we'll do is, employee has four records and order has 3 records. So when I fire a cross join, it will actually return 12 records, 4 into 3. It will return a combination of all the records from the employee table along with the order table. So if you go through these 12 records, so you'll find that it's actually just given you a permutation and combination of all the possible combinations of these 2 table records. So it's actually coming up to 12 records here. So that is what actually this cross join does. Self join. Shweta, have you used self join? Anybody? You said that you have worked with SQLs before. So any idea what exactly self join can do? When self join, I tell you the background. Self join actually joins the same table twice or thrice if required. So in what kind of scenario you might expect this to happen? Like, why do you need this self join? Why do you need to join the same table twice or thrice to query some data?
I might have, but I don't know why. I don't think why would we able to do that?
Okay, I tell you what is happening. So now I'm firing it like this. Like you said that whether I'm doing it, why you haven't used DBO. So let us see this particular table.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, Michael. Welcome back.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm late. I've been on the serve once.
It's all right. You didn't miss much. You know these things already, so you didn't miss much of this.
Okay. What are we doing now?
We're actually learning joins, basic joins. So we are into. We have covered about inner join, outer joins, and cross joins. We are now into self joins. Any idea about self joins, Michael?
Idea of what?
What is self join? Why do we use self join?
Yeah, it's to join tables together.
No, I mean join is to join 2 tables together, but there are different kind of joins. We have outer joins, we have inner joins, and cross joins, and now we are into self join. So why do we use self joins? Okay, I'll tell you why we use self joins.
Okay.
So yeah, this Shweta, this is everybody. This is the table that we have. I mean, if you go to this table, if you go through this table, you can find out that there is an employee ID, there is an employee name, date of joining, and there is a column called employee supervisor. So it might happen that the same employee, we have different kind of employees in the organization, and one employee might be the supervisor of another employee. But again, all the employees doesn't have a supervisor. There might be a vice president, there might be the directors who doesn't have a supervisor themselves. So they are supervisors for others. So in this kind of a scenario, if I want to have a report tomorrow where I want to see who are the employees, what are the employees, and who are working as a supervisors for others. So how do I do that? Michael, any idea? Sheta? Pascal Khai, I mean, I want your involvement a little bit more. I mean, I know that Pascal is not talking for you, but you need to talk for yourself.
I have no idea yet. That's why I'm silent.
So basically, that's where we are actually.
I think you will have to do it this way, where employee supervisor is equal to employee ID or something like that.
So how do I do that? I mean, I have only one table, and every data is there in the one table only.
Yeah, so you will have to.
How do I do it?
You will have to use the table name twice in the select queries to select star from the table name basically. That is table employee A. Select star from table employee A, and again table employee. This time you will name it as the alias B, where A dot employee ID is equal to B dot.
I mean, we have already learned a little bit of joins. So which of the type of joins do I need to fire? Inner or outer?
Inner.
Right. So this is the syntax for this.
Okay, I will see the query. Okay.
Yes. Here is the syntax. You can find out that these are the employees, and you can also find out who are the employees. I mean, like B is the supervisor for E and all that. So this is what is the utility of inner join. This is one of the scenario, but you can actually get this kind of a scenario where you have the same data in one table, and you have to come up with the report. So that's where inner join comes in handy. Self joins come in handy. So this is one of the scenario for that. And like you rightly said, the syntax is like this. So you have to use the table twice. Pascal, any questions till now? We are almost done with joins. So any questions till now? Any problems in understanding joins?
I know what to do. Mommy, I know what to do, Mama.
Hi, Pascal, Michael. I know you already know this, but still, any problems?
Have you done match joins?
Mommy!
Who is that? Please mute your place, please. Yeah. Have you, Sunshine? Trainer, please.
Yes, I'm here. I can hear you. Tell me.
I'm sorry, I couldn't pronounce your name very well.
That's all right. I mean, you did it right. So as long as you can understand, no problem with that.
I wanted to ask if you have taught them match joins.
Where are you?
I didn't get you, but tell me, come again once again, Michael.
Yeah, I'm asking if you.
Where you stay now?
Hi, can you mute your microphone, please? Hi, I'm talking to Kai. Can you mute your microphone? Yeah. Can you? Yeah, Michael, come back, please. Sorry.
So, I wanted to ask if you have taught tonight before I joined the class. If you have taught merge joins.
March already. I think we have already covered in the first class. I've shown you what exactly is the March join. But if you want that, like already had a talk with. I'll come back to you about that. I already had a talk with Tarun yesterday. So what we have them. This is actually for everybody. So if you have any issues in that, which I mean, I appreciate that. You are actually learning, you are actually browsing through the nets and all that stuff to know more and more. So for that, actually, we'll be sticking to the syllabus in the session. But if you have any other questions, you can always put it up in our dashboard. I'll have a look on those things and I'll actually answer them individually, or I can actually share those details with them, with everybody also. So like for you also, I mean, what I want you to do, Michael, is, I mean, jot down everything that you have. I mean, that the questions that you have, like March joins, even like you have asked me yesterday, why I have used those SPs and all that. So you just jot down those questions, put those questions together to me, send it to me, and I will actually answer it. I'll just put my answers on that document only.
Yeah, but I don't have your email. I don't have your email.
I mean, you don't have to get my email. You just upload that thing in your dashboard. You already have an access to our dashboard, right? The JanBask dashboard. So you upload
Yes,
that there, and the JanBask team will take care of that.
Yeah, I tried to upload my assignment in that dashboard. It was not going.
Right. I mean, yeah, I know that there was a technical issue yesterday. So I think now it's okay. You can try out doing that today also.
Okay, no problem.
I have a question there on the inner join.
Yes.
What are the matching and the elimination rules? What are the conditions?
Yeah, condition I already used, right? Here. I showed you one condition, like inner joins. This is the condition. So I've joined this and then I'm actually, this is the syntax, like first table name, the second table name. I have to add it through inner join, and then using the inner joins in that term, and then on. This is the matching condition. So if you want like say for example, if you want to filter it in a more detailed way, I'll just show you this. So then I want to have the records whose details is like whose age is 40. Like I can do it this way also.
Yeah.
So if I fire this, so these are the two records. So you can actually go on keep on adding as much filter condition as you like. But the basic syntax has to be like this. This part of this has to be there. Like inner join has to be there to join the two tables, and you have to mention on which condition you are joining the two tables. Then you can go on adding where clause as much as you like. You can add where clause, and if you want, you can actually add another where clause out here. So if you want, you can actually add like say for example, I want to see only the details of the employee 4. So I can do that this way as well. So yeah, as much you can go on, keep on adding as much filter as you like. So this is the way it actually functions. Any more questions, Pascal? I mean, did I answer your question?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. So any questions, Shweta, Khai?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Sorry about the noise in between. I didn't know my phone was on not on mute. I'm really sorry about that.
No, I mean, yeah, okay, sir, right, no problem. So we already learned that this much of those things, like what are the inner joins, outer joins, full outer, and cross joins, and also self joins. So let us go back to soft queries. So soft queries are basically queries within a queries. If I actually want to say what exactly is a soft query in a simple way, it's basically query within a query. So there are two kinds of query. I mean, the two kinds of soft query. Let me first come back to I think Michael and Shweta has used queries a little bit. So any idea and details what we can achieve using a soft query?
Basically, the subquery is used so that like a result of the subquery can be used as the input for another query. Like for example, I use subqueries like within select itself. Like suppose I want student IDs from one particular table, and which I'm using as a input to another query, that particular student IDs, to get the student names from a particular table. I don't know how clear I explain this, but that's the way a subquery is used.
So yeah, basically this is the thing. Like if you are actually writing a query where you want to have a pool of data which to match with another query, you can use the subquery. You can also, I mean, it's not that subquery is compulsory to write a query. There might be other ways of doing that, but you can also use an inner join and left outer join. Those can also be used to write that thing to achieve that purpose. But again, subquery is actually an option which SQL Server has given to us to query certain amount, some amount of data. So basically, subqueries are there are two kinds of subqueries. One is actually correlated subquery, another is a non-correlated subquery. So let me come back to correlated subqueries and non-correlated subqueries. So subqueries are two types. One is correlated subquery. What is a correlated subquery? Correlated subquery, like already Shweta and I have given you an idea that subqueries is something which actually I am firing a query within a query. So correlated subqueries are subqueries where the main query is actually the subquery is dependent on the value of the main query. So coming back to our the screen again. So if you go through this particular record, we have two tables. One is table employee and another is table table order. So table employee, we have the, if you go through the records, these are the records that we have in table employee. So suppose I want to fire a query where I want to see which particular employee has the average salary greater than all the employees. So here in that case, what will happen is, it's actually basically what we'll be doing is we'll actually go through every data. It will actually browse through the every department data and actually check out. So it will fire first this query. So if I run this query, so we'll find that what it's doing is this inner query, first it's actually firing the outer query. It's actually picking up the department ID from here, and then using the department ID, it's actually calculating the subquery. So basically, this is called, this type of subquery is called a correlated subquery, when the inner query is actually dependent on the data of the outer query, the main query. So what I'm doing is, like, it actually firing this query. It's actually picking up every department from out here, and based on that department, it's actually calculating the values of the subquery, and finally, it's actually returning the data. So any problem in understanding what is correlated subquery? Anybody? Kai, are you there with us now? Michael, Pascal, Shweta? Any questions on correlated subquery?
No, this one is clear.
Pascal, Shweta, Michael?
Yeah.
Kai, are you there with us?
Yeah, I'm here. It's okay.
Okay. Pascal, are you clear with this correlated subquery?
Yeah, just brief again. Just brief me again through, please.
Okay. So correlated subquery is basically what is happening out here. If you go through this particular query, we have what we have in this table. We have if we actually run a SQL select statement in this in employee table, we have these are the 4 records that we have. So suppose I want to fire a query where I want to check out which employee has his salary which is greater than average salary of all the departments. So in this case, what is happening is it's actually firing the first query out, the external query, picking up the department IDs from out here. It's then firing the inner query, average data, average salary, and then at the end of the day, it's actually end of the query, it's actually returning the data. So here, what is happening? The subquery is dependent on the main query. So until and unless this particular query returns the department IDs, this subquery cannot function. So this kind of query, the subquery is called a correlated subquery, where the inner query is dependent on the outer query, values from the outer query. So now I'm clear. Shweta, Michael, Pascal, are you clear with this now?
Yeah. Yes, I'm clear. I'm clear now. Okay. Thank you.
So there is another kind of subquery, which is the normal standard subquery, where the outer query is actually dependent on the inner query. So suppose this is the second kind of a query. Suppose I want to fire a query where I want to see what is the average, which particular employee has the average has his salary greater than the average salary of a particular department. So here this particular query is independent. So if I fire this query, it will definitely return a data. So this particular query is independent. So if I fire this entire query, this particular query, so here what is happening is this inner query is firing first. It's actually returning 6,000, and based on that, the outer query actually returning the final data. So this is actually a subquery coded, non-correlated subquery where the outer query is dependent on the inner query. It's not the opposite. It's the outer query which is actually dependent on the values of the inner query for the final record. So this kind of subquery is called correlated, non-correlated subquery. Any questions on this? Michael, are you clear? Sheta?
I'm good.
Sheta, are you clear? Hi, Kai, are you there with us?
I'm here.
Have you understood subqueries? Do I need to explain anything out here from there?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay. So there are a few other statements or type of subqueries that we can actually use. I mean, there is an in condition which we can use. I've actually used one. You can actually use in conditions there. You can actually use exist condition there. So basically, like here, what I can do is I can fire an in out. Let's do it this way only. So if I use an in condition, this is the syntax for an in condition. So there are other ways of there are quite a few other processes where you can actually do this. You can use other kind of syntaxes, but just let me show you what is how we can actually use department in condition out here. These files. Yeah. So this is actually a form of subquery where you can actually use in. So this is what I'm just doing it fictitiously. Like you can actually what I'm doing is I am actually picking up some this inner query actually picks up the department whose value is 3, and it's actually the outer query is actually running showing all the details of the employees which actually has the departments matching with this. So if I actually now remove this inner filter. Yeah. So this is how you can actually utilize in here. So there are other filter conditions like exists, not exist, and all that. You can try out those things yourself as well. But these are few filter conditions that you can actually use in case of in a subquery to actually get your records. coming back to the last class, any questions with this filter conditions that can be used in subqueries? Hi, Sheta.
I'm good.
Kai, Pascal, Michael.
Look good.
Okay. Coming back to the last part of our class today, SQL Server also allows you to queries, SQL queries also allows you to use if conditions out here. There are inside a particular query. So there are two ways you can do that. One is of course the case statement, where you can actually, this is actually, the case statement is basically a representation of a of the, if you call the if then else condition. This case statement is the actual representation of if then else. And there is another syntax called IIF, which actually is a smaller version of if condition, which also actually is very good while you are using a when you are using a conditional statement inside a query. So this is again a syntax of the case statement. So basically here what I have tried to do is, I mean, if in the employee table, if somebody's salary is actually greater than 5,000, greater than equal to 5,000, I have actually printed good, and if that is less than 5,000, I have printed bad for that. So this is the syntax for this, and again you can actually give an alias name of the column as well. So this is how a case statement fires. Even you can actually use else statement out here as well. So instead of using when you can actually could have used an else statement out. This is the way case statement fires. Case statement basically in a practical scenario, you need to have a case statement where something like you actually don't have a in a report kind of a thing, you have to print some comments from there, or you have to do some calculations based on a particular scenario. So there what happens there, case statements comes in handy. Any questions in case statement? Anybody? Sheta, Kai, Pascal, Michael.
It's fine. We just have to understand the logic, you know. It's like
just let me help you out in that. What is the logic? Have you used if statement in any other programming language?
I've not done any programming language. I've done a few, like SQL, like what you're doing right now. That's all I know. Okay. You know.
So if I again coming back to a non-technical scenario, so if case statement is actually if conditions, like in normal scenario, if you consider what exactly if is, like if something happens, like let me give you a practical example. A few moments back your baby was crying, so you muted your microphone. So if you consider it that way, like since your baby was crying, you muted your microphone. It's actually a kind of a practical scenario of if condition. So this case statement is basically the same thing. If actually when you actually trying to implement something in your query, if condition in your query. So if this, then do this, and if that, then do that. So that actually you can actually implement through case statement. So basically, like this is actually just an example. So in a practical scenario, in case of a salary, what it can happen is like if it might be a situation during the time of increment. Like if somebody is subbing somebody's salaries, say for example greater than a particular amount, you need to give him some incentive. If the salary is less than something, then you have to give him that % of incentive. So those kind of things, when you are generating a report, you can do that through using this case statement. So you can go on adding as much case statement as you can. I mean, as much when condition as you can. But the syntax is like this: it starts with case, and the conditions are written as when. So I'll just give you make it a little bit simple. So now you can actually understand. This is actually the syntax. It starts with case. It ends with, it then goes on with using when statement, when salary is greater than, when salary is less than, and it ends as end. So this is the entire case statement block basically. So the properties are actually given, the parameters are actually given as when, and then the block ends as end. So there is another if conditions which it's a simpler one. It's not that complicated as when but you can actually do some simple if condition, if statement, if conditions in your query. So before I fire this query, the practical side, I'll just tell you the practical scenario where we use actually if statement. So you might have come up, basically this is Sheta. You have Sheta, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Yeah, there might be, even Michael also knows this. There might be some scenarios where you are actually firing a query, and there you find that in some cases that let me go back to this one, this query only, the left outer join that we fired right now. So here we are actually seeing null out here. So if I want to have this, say for example, I want this null thing doesn't look good. So what I can do is, if I want to have this query in that way, that if null comes, I'll show that there is no department. I'll say that there is no department, otherwise I'll show department. So this particular scenario can be achieved using IIF statement. So I have basically actually small kind of an if statement where you can actually use on a single parameter. Like here, if salary is equal to 5,000, then it will show salary 5,000. Otherwise, it will show salary greater than 5,000 or less than 5,000. So if you actually trying to achieve a single kind of a thing instead of multiple conditions, one single condition that you want to match, then you can actually use if statement, IIF statement. So any questions on case and if IIF? Michael, Pascal, Sheta, Khai?
You can use this if statement and insert also, right? Insert.
Yes, yes, you can do that. Yeah, the same scenario, like I said, like you are not getting a particular data, so but you want to, you don't want to input null, so you can always use if statement. Like if null, then input this, otherwise input the original value. So you can do that there.
Okay.
Michael, are we clear? Pascal?
Good.
Pascal?
I'm good.
You are a little bit morose today, right? You are not speaking for Khai also, you are not speaking for yourself as well.
I'm trying to get it out, you know, I'm not into this, you know, I'm trying to follow it up carefully.
Okay, that's great. Khai, any questions?
No question. No question.
Okay, Michael, are you there with us? Anyway, the last is we already covered. This slide we already covered. This actually shows the syntaxes, different syntaxes that we actually did. Like the inner join syntax. What are the different outer join syntax, cross join syntaxes, self join syntax, and case statement, if statement. So these are already I have already covered. I'll be sharing this as well, like I did for the last classes. I'll share this thing, this particular query statement as well. Apart from that, I've already shared one assignment. That particular assignment is actually based on whatever we learned today. So this is in this week's class. So that's it. You can actually go keep. So before I end, I mean, I'll be taking questions. But first, these are the things that we'll be learning in the next session. We'll go on into using view. We'll be understanding a little bit of schema binding, alter solutions. We already did alters, but again we'll come up with a little bit details on that. So this is the thing that we'll be learning in the next session.